23 minutes before 7 o'clock here on Morning Live, the announcement by MultiChoice yesterday that it will not be renewing Africa News Network's ANN7 contract when it expires in August opened a floodgate of questions instead of laying the matter to rest. The timing coincides with the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA's confirmation a few days ago that it will be conducting an investigation into alleged payments made by MultiChoice to ANN7. But to take this discussion further, I'm joined by ICASA Councillor, Dr. Keabetswe Modimoeng. Dr. Modimoeng, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you. Good morning to the viewers.
Yeah, let's just get your response as ICASA by this announcement, of this announcement by MultiChoice yesterday.
Yes, as the authority, we also learned through the media of the decision made by one of our licensees, MultiChoice, that it will offload one of its 24-hour news channel providers, ANN7. At the time of bringing ANN7 on board, MultiChoice engaged with the authority for channel authorization, and we want to believe very strongly that MultiChoice will engage the authority.
Have they not done it? How does it work? Were they not supposed to engage ICASA before taking this decision? School us a little bit. How does it work?
Yes, not necessarily. I think they still have got time effectively in that ANN7 as we speak is still on air, and it will be for about 6 to 7 months from now. And there are continuous engagements between ourselves and our licensee, which are generally ongoing. Hence, I'm saying the process is known. They will have to engage the authority to notify us of their decision so that we can even update our records accordingly.
But from where you're sitting,
yes,
was all the necessities complied with? Let's look at compliance.
Yes. From where we are, we don't spot any non-compliance thus far in the decision that MultiChoice has taken, because ANN7, as I've indicated, is not our licensee. Our licensee is MultiChoice, and from time to time when MultiChoice, brings new channels on board or offloads them, they do then engage the authority for channel authorization. What would be of concern to us as the authority is that whatever happens out of this process, we would not like to see a situation where the plurality of views in terms of broadcasting is compromised, or the diversity of ownership.
Which is what concerns the Minister of Communications.
Of course, it's enshrined in our prevailing acts, the Broadcasting Act and the ICASA Act itself. We want to believe that out of this exercise, we will not have a situation where now we have fewer players, or we don't have those who have been historically disadvantaged owning or playing significantly in the space.
And just 3 days ago, ICASA confirmed investigations into MultiChoice. Does this have anything to do with the announcement, do you think?
We don't believe so. We hope not, because in any case, the investigation, a complaint which has been laid by the Democratic Alliance, we treat it as a separate process from yesterday's announcement, and the complaint preceded the announcement in any case. So as the authority, we will look into it as empowered by our regulations to look into such matters, to request the necessary information from MultiChoice or from the SABC for that matter, to look into the contracting arrangements and so forth. And where it happens that there are issues which are outside the mandate or scope of the authority, we will then engage the necessary institutions. If there are anti-competitive issues, we will notify and engage the Competition Commission.
But yesterday, ICASA also said that it failed to do diligence with all the controversy surrounding ANN7. One of the concerns that came out after the media briefing was that the decision lacked details. It didn't say much. It didn't give too much on this issue. Do you think they sort of trying to sanitize the company from where you're sitting as ICASA?
We don't know, and we wouldn't want to be preemptive in any way. Neither would we want to prejudge, because the relationship between MultiChoice and ANN7 is a commercial relationship, and much as MultiChoice is our licensee, there are other aspects of their commercial transactions and operations which are not necessarily within our purview.
But are you convinced with the reasons that were provided? Because many media analysts are saying that they didn't really say much except for admitting that, yes, mistakes were done, but there were no corrupt activities within those mistakes.
Yes, I think for the authority to form an informed view on the reasons and as to whether they are satisfactory or not, I think that would happen at a time when a proper submission is made to the authority by our licensee outlining the reasons of where they have arrived with their decision.
So you don't think this is just a superficial attempt in dealing with the problem?
No, we wouldn't like to cast aspersions.
All right. Now, linked with this, of course, Doctor, is the relations between MultiChoice, SABC and the ANN7 and the DS demands that all these three be investigated. Where does this leave the SABC in your investigations?
I think in the process of obtaining written responses to the complaint which has been laid, it's then that we will be able to know, this whole relational matrix, between the institutions you've mentioned. It's once we have obtained the documentation, we will be able to form an opinion and know, as a matter of fact, whether there was any non-compliance, whether there was any illegality, whether there was any anti-competitive behavior, as I've mentioned.
But have you started with those investigations? How far are you? Because the complaint, I would want to believe, was laid by the DA in November last year already.
Yes.
How far are you?
And then, since the complaint was laid, we took it and assessed it internally, because there are very stringent guidelines as to how we handled such, to first even ascertain whether it was within our mandate, because hence I've said not everything that concerns our licensees is entirely up to the authority to look into.
So is this one within your mandate?
Yes, we want to believe it is in terms of us obtaining documentation to make an informed assessment of what has transpired. So the first stage which we are engaging on right now, we are writing to our licensees to obtain the necessary documentation and make an informed view of whether we proceed. Does it fall within the scope of our complaints and compliance division, or does it fall outside the mandate of the
But that's
ICASA?
your mandate as the regulator, of course, ICASA.
Yes.
Why did it have to take the DA to come out and lay a complaint for something that was supposed to have been investigated by you as ICASA already?
Yeah, at all times we have continuous monitoring of our licensees. However, we do have, the Complaints and Compliance Commission. We have consumer complaints divisions within ICASA, where other complaints are not necessarily, unearthed by ourselves, and it's standard practice in the regulatory environment that a member of the public can pick up some anomaly in the workings of our licensees and so forth. So there is nothing wrong.
Just a quick one on this one, Doctor. DA is also requesting that ICASA subpoena all contract pertaining to both parties. Will you be doing that? In what form will the investigations be taking, and how long or how soon can we expect the investigations to be completed? And in a case where it is found that acts and regulations were contravened, what happens? Yes,
Regulation 7.2 of the Broadcasting Service regulations empowers the authority to request from our licensees contracts and so forth.
So that you can do.
That we can do.
All right.
And then from there, we then form an assessment. I think it's important for the public to understand that it's not that ICASA can deal with everything. If there are illegal issues that took place, we will have to refer to law enforcement agencies. But yes, we are empowered to request contracts and documents to form an informed view on the matter.
But what would the normal penalty be if there were contraventions of acts here?
Sure, there's a wide range. I mean, there's a wide range. It really depends.
All right. Yes, Doctor, thank you so much for coming through. That was Dr. Keabetswe Modimoeng, ICASA Councillor, talking to us about the developing story of MultiChoice contracts and their decision, of course, yesterday that they will not be renewing their contract with ANN7 when it ends in August. Talk to us. Let's hear your views at Morning Live SABC's Twitter handle.